Hey everyone, I've got some great stuff to show you today, at least I think. Yesterday, Friday, I went to the last kind of thrift store in my area that I hadn't been to in a while, and found some good stuff there, or at least some stuff. It's also subjective. And then later in the day, I happened to swing by my typical record store, one of my favorite local record stores. Just I wanted to look at something really quick, and they had just put out a bunch of new used vinyl, and I found some good stuff there. And I was going to make a video to show you, and I'm still going to show you that stuff, but that's going to actually be my next video because later that night I had plans, and my wife had plans with her mom, and they went to this like a church bazaar carnival kind of thing that they were having, and she texts me excitedly from there. They have records. Oh my God, I got you records. I can't wait for you to see them. So, my wife, she's pretty amazing. I love her very much, and it's not everybody's wife who would bring records. So, um, I'm just going to show you what she brought me first, and she also brought me some 78s home. And I'm not going to show those this video. I'm going to do a separate video for 78s at some point down the road. But let me get my stack here. My wife knows me very well. She knows that I like the 60s and R&B and soul and pop rock from that era. So she had some good judgment here. Let's check it out. She got here is Stevie Wonder. I Was Made to Love Her on a very nice Tamla record. I have already cleaned these, so they weren't quite in such great condition. But I have played them, and they sound really great. Very clean, very little surface noise. Here is one of my favorites. Here's the Four Tops on Motown, Standing in the Shadows of Love. Also very, very clean. There is a little hole here for some odd reason. Hello, VC. I see you through that little hole right here. So I don't know if that's like a remainder mark, something that was sent back. But the record plays fine, and as you see, very, very clean. Only some very light surface noise there, and mainly only before the song begins and after it ends. You don't really hear anything while it's playing. And here's another Motown, and I think I've just decided I collect Motown now because without even trying, I now have 6 or 7 Motown 45s. So here's the Supremes, You Can't Hurry Love, one of my favorite songs of that era. And again, beautiful condition. Look how shiny and clear that is. Plays wonderfully. I played it twice actually today, back to back. And then these were very good to me for personal reasons. Years ago, I worked with a guy who had been in the touring incarnation of the band the Box Tops. So if you remember the Box Tops from the 60s, they had a couple of big hits, and in fact, here they both are. Here is The Letter by the Box Tops. Give Me a Ticket for an Aeroplane. And this is not... this plays really well and very cleanly. There is some surface scratching there, but it's mostly scuffing. It did not impact the playback when I played it. And then here's their other big hit. And I had both of these in my original vinyl collection just because I knew this guy. Cry Like a Baby. And this one is even cleaner, if anything. They both play really well, and I was glad to have these back again. So for a while, about 25 years ago, I owned a 1970s Rockola jukebox that I got very cheap at an auction, and I had both of those records in my jukebox, so I was happy to get those back. And then I had to sell the jukebox for rent money one month. But I pulled the records out, and then they got ruined in the flood. So here is Earth, Wind, and Fire, Let's Groove. I have not played this one yet. I have not actually cleaned this one yet either. But even so, it's still not too bad. Earth, Wind, and Fire is good stuff. Though I don't think I know that song, not by the title. So I look forward to listening to that. And if it's a green fantasy label, it has to be Creedence Clearwater Revival because you never see any other band on fantasy. I think I have seen 0 other bands on the fantasy label anytime I've been out record collecting. So this is Who Will Stop the Rain backed with Travelin' Band. Both great songs. And I played this earlier. Sounds great. Now, this one made me a little bit sad because I love this song, but even after cleaning, the record just is very, very scratchy and will not be a permanent addition to my collection because of it. This is Ohio by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Love the song. Love the song a lot. Would love to have a good copy of this. And see, there's darn it, it's hard to get the reflection there. It's got some surface scratching there, but it is very loud all the way through. Even after a good cleaning, I could not get the noise out of this one. So unfortunately, not one I'm going to be able to hang on to permanently, but exactly the kind of song that I would love to have found. And then she got another Crosby, Stills and Nash and Young for me. Here is "Carry On." I have not played this one yet. Backed with "Teach Your Children." I like "Carry On" a lot, so I hope that'll play well. I have that on a greatest hits CD, so that'll be nice. And then she brought home the one that is probably the misfire. And it's like, well, you did really really well, but I'm not sure why you wanted to bring me John Denver, Calypso, backed with "I'm Sorry." I don't know either of these songs. I do like some John Denver, but there are some artists that you want on vinyl, and some that a greatest hits kind of LP will do that. And she's wonderful. I don't at all mean to sound ungrateful. I was just surprised, really, John Denver. That's who you take me for. Okay, so I have not played this yet or cleaned it yet, but I will. So maybe I'll love it. I hope I will. And then those were all 10 cents each. So hooray. And then just reaching down here, she brought 4 LPs home for me. And all 4 of these, originally I was like, interesting, but let's see. Um, this is not an LP I don't think I would ever have thought to have picked up for myself, but I played this album today after I cleaned it, and I loved it. And I'm going to keep it. And this is Leslie Gore, California Nights, on Mercury Records, and it's a very nice copy. And of course, we all know Leslie Gore. It's My Party, I'll Cry If I Want to. And this was an album she put out a few years later. Uh, I had to replace the dust jacket. There was no dust jacket at all in here, so I cleaned it up and put one in. That's the label here, Mercury. Sorry, again the screen is reversed, so anytime I move something, I end up moving it the wrong direction. But there's the LP there, and I liked every song on this album. There was not a single song I didn't think was fantastic. In fact, this album just like whoa, where did this great album come from that I haven't ever heard from before? And I was so glad she brought it home because that's not the kind of thing I think I probably would have passed it up if I'd been there. And so I asked her, what made you pick that up for me? And she said, well, to be honest, when I went with you to that record store you liked so much the other night, they had this album on the wall for $10. And the cover looked to be in the same shape, and this one was a quarter. So I thought, if nothing else, it was a good investment. I was like, I love you so much. You are such an amazing person to think that way. So, but that's what I'm keeping. That's a great album. And then the second thing she brought for me, as far as an LP, here is one, the Letterman in concert, and I totally get why she'd think of me for this because I've told her about, well, this is like 50s or 60s Capitol, good cover, good tight binding. That's kind of the thing I tend to pick up, and I cleaned this up and I played it today, and oh, I put this on. Let me tell you, this is a terrible record. Um, Boy, it's bad. And this is a relic of a past that I don't need to visit anymore. This is so milk toast. It's white music by the whitest people in the world for the whitest people in the world. And I'll give you an idea of how unhip this record is. Side one closes with a medley where they're making fun of the rock and roll hits of the day, like the Fleetwoods and the Coasters and groups like that, and the Tokens, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and so they do this. It's like a skit where they're like, okay, here's how we think some of these terrible rock and roll records of today are getting made, and they'll do like some little audio skit, and then they'll have a quick parody of that song, like Charlie Brown by the Coasters is one. And I was like, it's fun to make fun of rock and roll music because these guys, look at these guys, they obviously know cool. Okay, it's not Charlie Brown by the Coasters. It's this. This is coolness that will never quit. Um, I didn't like this album really at all. So I did listen to it, and it's worth taking a chance on for a quarter, but hopefully someone else will enjoy this. This is just not meant for me. And then she brought two others here, and they're both by the same artist. These, I don't know how I feel about these because I haven't played them yet, but I guess what she told me was growing up, I guess her family liked the comedy of Flip Wilson. So I have two Flip Wilson records here. Flip Wilson, The Devil Made Me Buy This Dress. And here's one that I'm not going to say the title, but I'll put it up for you to read. Uh, I don't really know anything about Flip Wilson. I'm not really familiar with his comedy, except I know wasn't he involved with Candid Camera, I think. That's the beginning and end of what I know about Flip Wilson. But I will listen to those. I like a lot of comedy records. Steve Martin and Bill Cosby, back when we used to be able to like Bill Cosby. Um, we're past that now. George Carlin, Robin Williams. I've enjoyed some good stand-up comedy. Lenny Bruce, good stuff over the years. So I'll definitely give that a listen and see what I think of it. Um, but I haven't listened yet. So the records, the LPs were a quarter each, and the 45s were 10 cents each. So I don't know, $2 or whatever she spent, $1.50 on those. Plus, as I said, some 78s, which we'll look at a future time. But I just had to share that with you because my wife's pretty awesome, and I love any woman who will bring me Stevie Wonder and vintage Motown in great shape home, no matter what it costs. So, um, I know a lot of people. I've always heard a lot of people have that issue where the spouse is not quite so um, supportive or anything, and it also helps that I'm buying mostly like 10 cent, 25 cent records, maybe $1 if I'm really good. I'm not bringing home the really expensive records very much. So this is kind of something we both enjoy because she's a great bargain hunter. She likes to find that kind of stuff. So if she can find You Can't Hurry Love on a really almost pristine Motown 45 for a dime, and I'll get enjoyment out of that for years to come, then that's a win-win. So I wanted to make this video to thank her. Not that I don't tell her she's awesome all the time, but I am very aware of how lucky I am. So um, that's it for this video, and in another video I'll show you some of the other finds I found myself at the thrift store. Um, and if I had been with her at this bazaar yesterday, is it possible I may have brought home some stuff she didn't? Yes. Is it possible I may have dissuaded her from stuff that she did bring home, like the John Denver? Yes. But I might also have not gotten that Leslie Gore album, which is a real find for me. That's one of the best finds this month. I loved that record, and glad to have it for a quarter. So, all right, that's it for now. Talk to you soon.